your ego, your self-worth. You're the biggest shit to walk upon the earth.
So hide in shame and triumph too. You know this song is written just for you.
Good evening and welcome.
Whoa.
Good evening and welcome to the Freak Show, guys. It is Saturday night. It is 9 o'clock and we are live on planet Earth. Welcome everybody from all around the world. Well, somewhere nearby. I hope you are all well and fine and had a great weekend. First of all, hello to Stig, top corner. Stig, how are you this week, sir?
Very well indeed, thank you. Very well indeed. I cannot complain. For a change.
Where are you this week?
Where are you connecting from?
This week, I'm down a very deep pit in mid Wales.
Okay.
Are you mining cheddar?
Might be.
Might be mining cheddar.
Yep, I am. Yes.
Okay,
Bring me back a lump.
Swiftly moving on, guys. Skelly, how are you, sir? And I take it you've been out on the pop today.
Really scared.
Maybe just a smidgen. Just a smidgen. Just a sampler, just to check it's all right, you know.
Okay. So you
had a lot to check.
A lot. Okay.
Different flavors.
Samples.
A lot of different flavors. Got to check every combination is all right.
And which one was the best?
The apple with gin.
Ooh. Okay, so also then over to Mechanized. How are you, Mechanized?
Very good, very good. Super excited about our special guest tonight.
Excellent. Yeah, so we have a very, very special guest tonight, guys. We have been trying to get him on for some time, but everybody's super busy. And we finally managed to do it tonight. He is one of our all-time favorite artists, possibly the best artist in the whole world. Oh, yes. What is more cooler, guys, than the post-apocalypse? Did somebody shout out?
Absolutely nothing.
Did somebody shout?
Actually,
Oh.
I was out in Worcester and I've seen these kind of people running around.
Okay, but there is one thing cooler than the apocalypse. It is zombies, and it is Charlie Adlard, guys. Welcome, Charlie, to the Freak Show, sir. You are an absolute legend, and it is a privilege to have you on the show. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well indeed.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for coming on the show. It is a real honor to have such a guest and celebrity as yourself on the show. Also, I love the backdrop. Oh, my gosh. Wow.
It's I as I said to you earlier in our email conversations, when we were sort of trying to set this up and I kept having to push it back for various reasons, primarily because we were moving, you have an exclusive. This is my new studio, or part of it. That's the collectible bit, obviously. You know, when my wife was unpacking cardboard boxes of, shall we say, essential stuff, I was busy, laying out my, figures here and things like that. So
you have to get the priorities right. Yes,
exactly. Do you have any tricks or tips for people out there of how to increase your collection without the missus knowing?
Is build a bigger house.
Excellent. I always do think, no, I've always had that new figure. I mean, that figure's always been there. You just don't remember it.
He was giving me that look of, look, where's that going to go?
Wow.
Don't worry about it. It will go in my studio. Or
That is an amazing collection of things. What out of everything behind you, what is your favourite? If you could just take one thing.
Well, I will move my map to show you. It's probably actually those two over there, because that Battlestar Galactica.
Hell yeah!
Oh wow!
Which I'll show you.
How big is that? Can you give us a what's it for reference?
I'll stand by.
Bloody Nora!
That's
As you can see, I'm quite far away from that.
Oh my
But
God.
also, hang on, a click of a button.
Whoa!
FDL engines light up. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually go to light speed, but hey, you know.
I'm about to say it suddenly goes shooting through the other bit and smashes out the wall the other side.
But I'm very lucky and privileged to know a master, one of these master builders over in the States. And one of the guys who works at Skybound, the publisher of The Walking Dead, is a big Lego fan. So he knows this guy, Brandon. And quite often in the past, Robert Kirkman, that is the writer of The Walking Dead, has bought a load of artwork off me. And I've said to Robert, yeah, instead of paying me a ruck of cash, Robert, why don't you just get this? Why do you get this guy at Skybound to email Brandon to get him to build me X? So
Yeah, why not?
downstairs, believe it or not, I've got a 4 foot tall Lego Mecha Godzilla.
Have you? Oh my God!
That was the first thing he built for me, and then that was the second one.
That's impressive.
God.
Yeah, and he's actually building a minifigure scale of the house we've built. That's the next thing he's doing for me, so that's pretty cool. But I've got to admit, the other thing I really love is that there. You can't really see it, and I can't move the computer. I can't obviously move my Mac closer, but that thing I'm pointing to, that's Asterix, and
Hey!
a massive fight. And I bought that in Angoulême, which is the French comics festival. I couldn't resist it. It just looked magnificent. And you can see all the things flying. I think there's loads of stuff on little wires. So there's like unhygienic fish and one ghoul just flying out the center and everything. And it's on a rotating base. So from any angle, you've got, all the characters. It's just
brilliant.
That is just
that is seriously impressive.
Wow. So guys, if you are connecting, if you have any questions, please post them up. We have a lot to go through tonight. So a quick back over to Charlie. So Charlie, just before we start on the interview, how did you actually get into drawing? Was it something you always wanted to do as a kid? Did you?
Yeah, ever since I was about, I've always drawn. I can't remember not drawing. When I was about 6 or 7, way back in 1972, my dad bought me home a copy of The Mighty World of Marvel #1, which was UK reprint of obviously the Marvel comics of the original Marvel comics of the 60s. And the first issue had Spider-Man, Incredible Hulk, and the Fantastic Four. And it was one of those things where it was like scales falling from my eyes. After that, all I drew were comics characters. So from that tender age and that one comic, and obviously I collected it from that point. It was that. But coincidentally, at the same time, my dad used to go to this petrol station to fill up his car or whatever, and the petrol station were running a promotion. If you got obviously enough points after you filled your car up enough times, you get a free Asterix book. So I introduced to Asterix at a really young age as well. So unbeknownst to me, I was sort of being fed American style comic books from one side and French bande dessinée from the other. So that sort of all fed into my sort of melting pot, and here I am.
Oh my
And you
God.
learned how to siphon petrol out of your dad's tank at a very early age.
Wait,
We've gone through the petrol again.
Yeah.
So when was it? What sort of age were you at where you thought this could be a career?
Oh, not until because I was focused on drawing comics and doing it as potentially a living all the way through school.
Yeah.
And I knew I was going to go to art college or something of that nature. So I did an art foundation course in my hometown of Shrewsbury. And I think partly because I suddenly realised that there wasn't obviously any course to do comic books at university, college or whatever, I got into film and video. So I went to do a film and video course down in Maidstone. And that sort of got me out of comics for a while. And it was only until all other, shall we say, because I did try and make it in a band as well. I played the drums. So...
I'm very good. You are a very good drummer, by the way.
Yes, thank you. Anyway, I moved to London to do it with the band and everything, and things, long story short, things just didn't work out.
What was the band called, by the way?
In London,
Yeah.
we went by the rather awkward moniker of If. It wasn't
Monica.
I thought, well, first we were called Soul, as in Soul, and then we changed it to If.
And what kind of music was it?
It was sort of grungy type.
Wow.
Before grunge, so we could have been innovators. I don't know.
Oh,
This
it's not like you won R1 already.
Shrewsbury, Seattle, it's close.
I mean, this was back in 87, 88. So
Wow.
yeah, this predates Nirvana. So
That's it.
Yeah, definitely. Wow.
You
Just
should
a
have
dodgy
kept
name.
going.
Yeah. So at that point, were you playing gigs? Were you doing
Oh, yeah, we're doing
all the usual stuff in around London?
we were doing loads of gigs. We were doing. Well, we got on that horrible circuit where you basically pay to play.
Yeah.
With that vague hope that there might be some, because these pubs would promise you the record and turning up, etc. Who knows who might be there in the audience? So you got that audience of like 4 people.
Yeah.
And, so to be honest, that really put me off for at the end of the day, because it just felt so relentless and just so soul destroying. Because you had a day job, so you're working all day. You get home, you didn't even have time for a shower or anything. You jump in the van, get all the gear down to wherever you're playing, and bearing in mind this is all London, so forever to get anywhere. And you play your gig, you get home at 12 at night and be up for 6:30 in the morning for work, and then on top of it we're rehearsing at least 3 times a week, because we were really trying to
trying to break it,
trying to do it seriously. Our only claim to fame is for a couple of rehearsals, we rehearsed this. I can't remember where it was. Somewhere in East London, a rehearsal studio. We had My Bloody Valentine playing next door. And they were louder than us in the room.
Oh my God! Wow.
Bad sign.
Were you actually drawing comics at the same time?
Not really. I dabbled a bit. I was always drawing. Even when I was doing film and video at Maidstone, I was still drawing a bit, but nothing to the level that I should have been. And because the band didn't work out, I ended up just thinking there's nothing for me in London anymore. So I moved home just on a whim, and moved back in with my parents because I couldn't afford to get anywhere else. Thankfully, my parents took me back in. And,
was that in Shrewsbury?
Yeah. So I set up a little studio in their sort of conservatory and announced that I was going to try and break comics. I think my mum was quite happy about that because she saw that as a less dodgy option as being in a band.
Yeah.
So she was more than happy, to have me doing something else. So and that was when I really decided to get into the industry I work in now.
Wow. So when you first started then taking comics full time, how did you then make your next step to from that to 2000 AD? What was, did you do like a portfolio and go to like Thought Bubble or?
Well, the equivalent of, it's as simple as that. I spent about just over 2 years getting up to speed again, because as I'm sure you know, whether you're a musician or an artist or whatever, if you lose that momentum, if you stop doing it, you've got to regain that momentum. You've got to it's almost like getting your sea legs again. So it took me a long time to regain what I'd lost, and then also build up a portfolio. But of course, I was lucky in one big aspect. There were only 2 conventions I could go to generally, and one was in Glasgow and one was in London, and both run by the same guy, funny enough. But the good thing about it was the late 80s, so of course comics were massive at the time. So all the American companies could afford to send editors here rather than you have to go to the States, which is the case now. You go to a festival or a convention now, you will not get editors to the level that you got 30 years ago. So I had a good shot at getting my work seen by 20, 30 editors possibly. And I'm not just talking about Marvel and DC, I'm talking about they had Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, even lesser companies that were sending editors over. Then there were loads of British, there was Deadline, there was 2000 AD, the Dread magazine, there was all the other sort of hitters at the time, Tundra, comic companies like that. So it was just like a massive feeding frenzy. And of course, British artists and writers were also really desirable because, that was the era of, obviously Alan Moore and people like that. But, people like Garth Ennis were breaking in, and, Grant Morrison and all these other guys. And so, editors were coming over to seek the next wave of British talent. So it was a very fortuitous time for me. So I was sort of lucky. I probably broke in earlier than I should have done, to be honest. I don't think I was particularly ready. And, I think if I was an editor, I don't think I'd have employed me. But I think just the market was there for as much, material as possible.
What was your sort of your first major job then?
First major job, specifically in comic books, because I did a few strips beforehand with a guy I'd met actually who lived in Shrewsbury, a writer called Tim Quinn, who I was introduced to via a local radio DJ for Radio Shropshire, bizarrely. And Tim and I are still, good friends. We've always maintained our friendship, and we get on like a house on fire. He's since moved to away to sort of near Liverpool, where he was sort of his kind of, I suppose, his home country place. So I did a bit of stuff with Tim because Tim was really good at getting that sort. He was very good at the pattern, very good at getting work and things like that. So I sort of just basically, just followed him, to whatever job it might have been. But my first, like I say, proper comic strip was Judge Dredd: The Hand of Fate, which was a one-off story, a 10-page story written by Alan Grant.
What was it like, your sort of first one with Alan Grant? Because he is a legend.
Well, I got it in a slightly subversive way.
Tell us more.
Yes.
I was. One thing I am good at is so if I get determined about getting something, I will eventually get it, no matter what.
I know that.
So I was at this Glasgow con, and I had a portfolio, and I was working with this just guy I knew as a writer, just to get material more than anything. So I think he'd written a Santanus Rex, one of his dinosaur stories. So I'd fully painted it because at the time it was fashionable to paint your comics as opposed to do black and white or black and white with colour. It was the era of Dave McKean, Simon Bisley sort of thing. So I had this strip and I remember showing it to Alan Grant, and just on the off chance, I wouldn't normally show it to writers because they can't get me work. So, but he was really quite encouraging about it, and I sort of cheekily said, if I go over to the Dread magazine, and would you write a story for me if they really like my stuff? And he just went, sure, like that, probably assuming that was going to happen. So, of course, then I went over to see, I can't remember who it was. It must have been David Bishop at the time. He was the magazine. And he liked my stuff. And I said, well, if you like my stuff, Alan Grant's promised to write me a story. That was it. So I sort of got the two sort of talking, and next month or so later, I had this sort of script on my. I mean, Alan at the time was just writing a ton of stuff, so probably just yet another script was neither here nor there to him. So,
But how did you sort of, because you've got a very distinct style, which is awesome. How did you purposely try it and create your own style, or is that just natural? Does that make any sense? Because if you look at comic books, you go, that is definitely a Charlie drawing.
I'm not sure when I came to this kind of conclusion, but I realized that at one point you get influenced by stuff. What you shouldn't do, and it's definitely the same with music as well. The one thing you do is you listen or watch something or absorb, but you let it absorb naturally. You don't sort of go, oh, I love, from my point of view, something like, I love Mike Mignola, I'm going to draw Mike Mignola. No, you don't do that, because then you just look like a weak pastiche of that, whatever. So you just go, right, okay, Mike Mignola, I'll store that in the back of my brain. I love that stuff. I will just keep it there, and eventually it will sort of percolate out, but percolate out as you, as opposed to
Wow. So, do you have like a methodology of, say I don't know, you're working with sort of John Wagner or something, and he's come out with this, and this happens on a page. Do you have like a set process where you try and that you do this first, and you do like your pencils, or you do rough sketches, and do you have like a set way that you work?
It honestly varies from project to project. I mean, for instance, obviously The Walking Dead was, because I had to do 22 pages every month for 16 years, it was a very fast process. Literally, Robert would write the script, or part write the script. It was rare that I get a full 22 page. Generally, because he was obviously really busy as well. So what he was doing was just basically writing chunks, like scenes, and then he'd do a scene of, say, he'd do a scene of Walking Dead, then he'd do a scene of Invincible, then a scene of whatever else, Outcast or whatever, and then come back to Walking Dead, do another scene. So I was getting it, I was constantly nipping at his heels really fast as well. So, 5 or 6 pages to me is 2 or 3 days work, so he was like, oh Christ, I've got to write some more for Charlie, because obviously, again, The Walking Dead, I've been very privileged, or we've been very privileged, because it's a creator-owned thing. We don't have an editor. We can do whatever we want. So I don't have to show my thumbnails to somebody to get people. I was literally penciling and inking it, and Robert, who was the only person that would actually see it until it was sort of approved, he would just see the inks. And because we worked together for so long, we ended up obviously trusting each other, and kind of knowing our capabilities, etc., etc. But but some other projects are different. It really depends on. A lot of it depends on the sort of the equipment I use. And I never consciously change my style, but the equipment might dictate how I draw it, if you see what I mean. So I'm always varying the equipment because, you know, I like to be nimble-footed in terms of my style. I don't want to kind of what's the word? Stagnate.
Yes. Yeah.
Just stay in one place.
Thing. Being known for the same process, which I got to admit, a lot of artists I always find do. You know, they just have the same look, which is, you know, if they're not bored with it, that's fine. Okay, it's not really a criticism, but for me personally, I like to, you know, change my, how I approach something every time. Like, for instance, I'm just, you know, I'm doing a French bande dessinée now. That's the next thing I'm doing, and I'm pencil inking and colouring it. And I decided to. So my process on that one, I've acquired. There's a really good pen shop in Shrewsbury, believe it or not. So over the last 2 or 3 or 4 years, I've acquired these really nice pens, but I've not really had the opportunity to use them very much because, you know, a lot of my work of late has also been digital.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to make use of these pens, so I thought, right, I'm going to draw it for real, and then scan in, and then do a sort of a wash over the top on layout paper, scan both of those in, turn the wash into sort of letretone, so you've got this really nice sort of traditional pattern, but it's all kind of washy, so it's all different faded spots and everything. So you got that, and then colour it digitally like normal. So that's the process on that. So that's a kind of more interesting, and because it's for Glenart, this big French publisher. Well, I was merrily going. I've done 15 pages basically, and I was merrily sort of going along doing this, and my editor afterwards sort of started saying, "Can you do it in?" I was actually doing a page at a time, and that's it, and then doing a new page and a new page after that. And I think the editor would rather me do it in sort of chunks of layouts or pencils, so the letter can letter directly on. Translation with the French. We've got languages going on, and I'm not 100% sure what they're asking. This is the slight problem I've got with this one. But
do you speak French?
No, to GCSE level.
Is it going to be also Magic Roundabout then? Completely different.
Sorry?
It's going to be like Magic Roundabout. They'll send this stuff to you. They'll get it back and go, "What the hell's he on?"
See, that's why we got a stick in our life. He does.
Exactly. Before we carry on with the interview, let us quickly do our fact or fict, which is a part of the show where we come out with a fact or a fiction of all the panel, and then everybody watching, you have to the end of the show to put your votes in whether we are telling the truth or lying. So, Charlie, first of all, let us show you this slightly underwhelming
you will be blown away
little music ditty. Watch this. Hold on to your trousers. Longer. Yes, that's all I can say. Yes. So I'll get the ball started. So I have, right, so this is fact or fict. I have drank cider backstage multiple times with Trent Reznor from 9 Inch Nails. Fact or fict? Okay. Stig, over to you, sir.
Oh, I've got a rock and roll story as well. I once lost my mum's car keys in the middle of a cricket pitch. Not that rock and roll at all.
But he is, Charlie, he is super accident prone. So we were in LA he drove the RV out of the actual RV depot where we were hiring it from, and managed to rip the whole.
Was
back,
it 10 meters even? Was it
Yeah.
10 meters?
rip one of the
Well,
wheels
the curb
off.
was
My
10
fault.
meters. It was a 10-meter curb.
It was held on with chicken wire.
It was
Bad
highly,
design.
highly embarrassing. Skelly.
Strange question, but has a portal to another realm opened behind me?
Oh, he's doing
Oh,
that.
yeah.
He's-
Yeah, that's interesting. Are you in the catacombs again?
I was reading from a book out loud earlier. I don't know. I didn't think anything would come of it. No.
How many times do you say Candyman?
Fact or ficto?
Fact or fix. Mechanized.
Oh, I don't
you've got one.
Oh, you
done
didn't
it yet.
finish yet?
Oh, sorry.
Was that it?
I was just asking an innocent question about whether the
Oh, that's
continues.
I thought that was your
that was-
fact or fix.
That was
Yeah.
very subliminal.
That was a bit meta. I once met John or Louis at a party, and he wasn't in the kitchen.
Oh,
Oh, mechanized.
well, that's obviously a lie.
Yeah.
Did or didn't I nearly got stick arrested in America?
Oh dear. And then our illustrious guest, Charlie. A fact or fic from you, sir.
Did I or did I not hit someone over the head with a crowbar when I was at school?
Oh,
Oh, please be a fact.
that is awesome.
That's more like it. That's more like it. Can I do another one?
Okay, guys, you have to the end of the show to get your votes in. Stiga, hopefully you're going to make it to the end of the show. So, Charlie, next question, sir. So, after a lot of 2000 AD and a lot of awesome, amazing comics, how did you first hear of The Walking Dead? How did that first start?
Well, this is God, someone's shooting at me from the.
Yeah.
Really is the most dull story, to be honest. I used to go to San Diego regularly back in the sort of 90s, and primarily because I viewed it as pre social media, whatever. It was to keep in the industry. I always viewed it as a very important thing to go in there and basically network, etc. And so I got to know quite a few, obviously, Americans. So one of which was Robert Kirkman, who was introduced from a mutual friend of ours, which is Joe Casey, who I'd worked with on various smaller projects prior to The Walking Dead. He knew Robert and he introduced us. And I never really Robert was a guy just sat behind a booth selling his, small press comics, Battle Pope and things like that. So he was perfectly pleasant, and we exchanged probably 30 seconds to a minute's worth of chat, for a few San Diegos, and that's it. Never thought anything of it. So it was a bit of a surprise to get an email off him a few years later, which was basically saying, are you interested in working on this small zombie comic?
I've got an idea about a zombie. Did he give you any idea initially, or was it just like, let's do a zombie comic?
Well, no, bearing in mind, I didn't start The Walking Dead. I'm 100.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks, a lot of people think I did. I didn't do the first 6 issues. An old friend of Robert's, old sort of, friend from Kentucky, where they both came from, Tony Moore, did the first 6 issues. And because Tony was penciling, inking, and sort of grey toning the book, it was a big old workload, and he basically couldn't do it. And my memory of why he left is a bit hazy, but primarily he left because he just couldn't maintain that level of work, which is fine because I don't think I could do all 3 disciplines in a month. So. And I think he just wanted to do those 3 disciplines. He didn't want to give one up. So I think he just respectfully sort of backed away from the book. So, and then Robert sort of obviously knew my work, and he knew I could do a regular issue, a regular series. So he came a calling. Thankfully, I was in between jobs. So I said, it's as simple as that. You know, at the time
Wow.
I'd done this sort of bit of an arc in my career, whereas I'd started off, fairly, from the bottom, got to a certain stage with the Dread magazine, and then I had a stint at Marvel UK, and then I did the X-Files, which kind of put me on the map and was really successful. So I did well out of that. But the problem with the X-Files was it was only bought by fans of the TV show, so they weren't comic fans. So once that came to an end, I wasn't really established in the comic world. So I basically put back to square one again. So for the next 4 or 5 years, I was sort of scrabbling around trying to find, work from anywhere, So I was a proper journeyman artist at the time. So, and I'd got to the stage where I was considering, I'd been offered this other series, which was an adaptation of The Haunting of Hill House that I think IDW were doing. Again, at the time, IDW were not a big company, so they were offering a right old pittance of a page rate. And I remember sort of sitting down with my wife going, if I can do 4 pages a day, if I can do it small, because I think they were going to print it small or something, so it was only like 3 or 4 panels maximum per page. I was thinking, if I can do 4 pages a day, we can make this work. It was
4 pages a day. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I was literally thinking about doing one, turning an A3 page on the side and dividing it down. So it was like A4. But then Robert sent this email, and included in the email was the fact that The Walking Dead, unlike most, most American comic books, was actually increasing in sales every So he said, I can promise you X amount of money regardless for the first, for issue 7. I can guarantee you that. And it was more than this Haunting of Hill House already. So I was like, okay, right, sorry.
I'm in.
I have, thankfully I hadn't signed anything, and I sort of respectfully backed.
Did you have to try and keep the artwork similar to the first 6 issues, or in the same vein, or was it just like the story's carrying on?
No, Robert, first thing he said was, look, I know you're completely different to Tony, because Tony drew in this sort of cartoony style, very open line, a lot more, sort of cross-hatched and sort of, that's smart. And obviously I didn't. And first thing Robert said was, I don't want you to draw like Tony. And I said, good, because I wasn't going to.
I'm Charlie, not Tony.
Even when you're desperate for work, one thing I was not ever going to compromise on was draw like somebody else. I mean, why would you get me to draw like somebody else when I've never demonstrated my like abilities to draw like someone else?
How long did you have on the first issue? So from the, hey, I've got an idea of this, I'd like you to carry on with this zombie comic, to how about, episode 7? How many pages and how long did you have to deliver the first one?
Well, after we agreed and I did a few character sketches, etc. I did it in 2 weeks, the first issue, because Robert and Image said to me, don't worry, but issue 7, because Tony is sort of lagged behind, the issues have got sort of, the deadlines have got tighter. He said, this issue's due in 2 weeks' time, but you don't have to do it in 2 weeks' time. That was a proviso. Don't feel. But in the back of my mind, I was going, that's a bit of a challenge, isn't it? and I've got to admit, the thing I literally did just before I did that first issue of The Walking Dead, myself and actually a good friend of mine, Robbie Morrison, we'd done what they call the Batman inventory issue, which basically means you do a story. There's no publishing date on it because it just gets put away and used if there's an emergency or whatever. So we had as long a time as we wanted on this one issue, this 24 page or whatever it was issue. I thought, right, I'm going to work. Everything I was perceiving at the time was my big break, my second big break into sort of comic books. So I was thinking, well, if I do this to the umpteenth level as I could possibly do it, as best as I can, this is going to be the one. So Robbie had written this Mr. Freeze story, and it took me about 6 or 7 weeks to draw, which for me is a really long time. And when I looked at it in the end, and I looked at the Walking Dead issue that took me 2 weeks to draw, yes, it was more sketchy, but apart from that, there was no difference. I realised then that there's no point in saying in your head, this is going to be the best. It's almost the worst thing you could say to yourself, which is, this is going to be the best thing I'm ever going to draw.
No, you never
will be. You'll always disappoint yourself. So you might as well just go with a much more laissez-faire attitude and just
definitely
go for it. Just go for it, and then that's when the magic happens in all creativity, I think.
So once you got in after episode 7, was there like a set amount of time between each issue? Because you've done lots of issues. What kind of time frame did you have for an issue?
Well, I mean, I had a month per
1 month.
But I was generally see, I am really fast. That is my reputation. I was doing it, generally speaking, within 2.5 weeks, 3 at the very most, if it was a really complicated, crowd scenes and all that sort of stuff. So people always go, oh God, 22 pages and a cover a month. How did you sleep? I go, quite easily, actually. I worked sort of...
Never, because I wanted to get it ready.
I work 6-7 hours a day in the daytime. Kids go to school. I go to tea time. I finish work. I rarely work weekends. Got it done. Simple as. I think I've got a very good...
work ethic.
I've got a good, and I've got a good work-life balance as well. I don't
awesome.
take over my life either.
Was there a point when you were drawing the comics when it was getting more and more popular? Because it is like, I think it's one of the world's most popular comics ever. Was there a certain moment when you thought it gave you more pressure? Like, oh my God, this isn't just another comic. This is.
No, I mean, I never thought, oh my God, this is 100,000 people have read this issue and then some. Not even thinking about all the reprints or whatever and all the translations. I think it's because I work, in a town of a smallish town, 70,000 people. I'm not in a big city. I'm not really that involved with the industry beyond these 4 walls, sort of thing. It's probably because of that, and I just get on with the job. And I know, and it was successful. It was becoming successful because of Robert's writing, because of my artwork.
Yeah.
So why? There's no point in worrying about what you're going to do, because you were obviously doing it right to begin with. So no, I never really considered, even when it became a TV show and the thing just blew out of the water. I never thought. Robert and I never said, "Oh, let's make it more like the TV show. Let's, can you get closer to Andrew Lincoln?" And no, we always kept it very much separate. And the comic book that's what it was. It was successful doing what it did, And I don't think even if we tried, it would have been too contrived to have tried to tighten the show. I don't think it would have attracted the right sort of reader, to be honest. Because you'd attracted non-comic book fans, and there would have been I think we'd have actually lost out on a lot of stuff if we'd have tried to have almost grabbed, go for millions and millions of sales just to get a TV audience reading it at the same time.
Got you.
Just had a question come through from Mike. Is how do you feel about the difference between the comic story plot versus via the TV slots?
Well, what you've got to realise is that TV, as closely linked as TV and comics are, they're also two different mediums as well, and they both, do different things, creatively. And the TV show basically followed what we were doing. It's as simple as that. They always had to stay behind us, and I think the problem was that with the TV show was the fact that they had to stay behind us. So I think what happened with the TV show eventually was, when they're doing 16 episodes per season, that's a lot of television. And that's a lot of eating up, and they're relying on two blokes desperately trying to draw and write this thing every month, and so what was happening? It was like this. We're moving that speed.
Oh God!
Almost like an inverse pyramid, where you've got all this in the world, all coming down to two blokes down here, so I'm trying to keep the whole thing up. Those people, all their jobs depend on you two blokes going. Oh,
definitely.
Shit, can't go away.
Were you getting pressure from the TV company to sort of go? Can you go faster?
Not really. No. I mean, because we just would ignore them. We would literally. It's our thing. At the end of the day, we realise we know we're in control of it. No matter what, and what we do goes. And but we were in danger of getting to that George R.R. Martin situation. The TV show completely catches up, and there's no chance of Martin getting ahead anymore. Thankfully, obviously, we didn't do that. But what the TV show had to do was branch out more and tell other stories, but maintaining a vague thrust of that central plot. And I think that's when the show started to lose it in terms of, because it was always criticised then for being just a bit directionless and stuff, because they couldn't change too much because of what we were doing. And
so almost treading water.
Yeah, treading water. They had to do a lot of treading water, especially in. I think in a lot of ways it's a real shame that the show has called it a day as well, on top of us calling it a day, because I thought, well, at least if we've called it a day, it gives the TV show just this freedom all of a sudden to do whatever they want to do, it's a shame they decided also to call it a day.
Well, is there anything in your books what they were not able to put into the films because it was too harsh or too aggressive? Is there anything, or did they actually follow everything through?
They pretty much. Christ, they even caved Glenn's head in, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. That was a shocker.
I think the only thing they didn't dare do was kill a baby, which we did.
There you go.
Just the one.
Just the one.
Quite important,
maybe.
So when you were drawing this, and because you were working on it for so long, and you were so deeply involved as a duo, were you also sort of excited about what's happening next? Because I know you have to focus on the artwork, so you've got a job where you've got to draw all this stuff, but what happens in 3 episodes down? Were you very focused on your job at hand because of the time frames? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, as an artist, that's more a question for Robert, to be honest, because as an artist, I'm just sort of focused on, what's in front of me. Not just. I think Robert and I would talk at length about, the rough mapping out of stuff, perhaps once every 4 or 5 months, something like that. But I always knew after a while that whatever Robert said, I knew he would probably change it. So it was almost pointless doing the mapping out, him telling me what was coming. Because a lot of stuff he would change, which is fine, because that's his prerogative. But so we'd have these conversations, and I'd be drawing away thinking, isn't this meant to be happening at some point? It never does. You just think, you obviously just changed the plot, And I mean, there were certain elements that we always wanted to end the book with Carl. Carl was always, at the end of the day, he was always the one we followed, and he was the one you saw through his, anyway. And, and Rick in the end was not, the guy you see through right to the end. He's not your main, ironically, he's not the main protagonist.
Yeah.
So, that was always followed through. And Robert literally did say, I remember having a conversation, I think it was the second San Diego I took my family to, and my eldest son, who at the time was probably 10 or 11, I think, we were in Robert's hotel room, and he was telling us how he saw the ending of the book. And I was looking at Dylan and thinking, better not say any of this.
Do not say anything.
And and I remember him. I do distinctly remember one thing. I remember him saying was, "I see the ending as old Carl telling his son, stroke daughter, who hadn't made up his mind, in a rocking chair." And there we go.
Yeah.
That was literally set in stone, that ending. So
brilliant.
Was there ever a situation, because I take that Rob gives you his story and then you draw.
Yeah.
So was there every time when you come to an end to a book, you're like, you can't end like this? What? Because I remember sometimes I was watching the program, I was like, what? So
right.
Would you have the same?
There was a couple of times there was early on. I had to have a conversation about the Michonne torture sequence because it was so unrelenting. I remember saying, because I'm a big fan of. I think horror is best off screen because your mind punches up images than you could possibly imagine. So as soon as you see, for instance, the monster, that's why Jaws works so well. Because the shot was so crap. They decided not to show it. That's why Alien worked so well, because they knew as soon as they pulled back and showed the whole alien, it looked like a man in a monster suit, so
definitely
it works infinitely better. And so I was always the guy saying, no, let's put that off screen, because that was so much better if you just hear something or get told something, Again, that's why 7 works so well, because you're never shown anything. You just get it snippets and people describing stuff. And anyway, but when he did the Michonne thing, I was like, God, this is really. And I said, you've got to persuade me to draw this, Robert. And he did. He did persuade me. I do. I mean, joking apart, because he did say, think of the money you'll make, because you'll sell these pages for a lot of money.
That's what I just wanted to ask. I said, do I dare to ask, how did he sway you?
Some sicko out there.
So what is your favourite character from the show that you've drawn? We're getting all the fan questions now, so sorry about this.
No, it's a very obvious one. It's either Michonne or Negan, because Michonne I've got a connection with just because she was pretty much the first major character that I designed, apart from I've forgotten his name, the black guy who turns up in 7, but he doesn't last. He lasts up to issue. I've forgotten his name. Tyrese was the first guy I designed, but Michonne just was so unique in her look and everything that was and you can't be a badass female with it.
Awesome.
Bit of a gift to an illustrator, really, isn't it?
Real proper visual feast,
Yeah.
Negan, because I loved the character. I just thought he was infinitely more interesting than the governor as a villain.
Well, Leela on the show says you didn't like Carl.
No, she didn't like the way the TV show ended. Carl.
yeah, to be honest, I've never even. I know this might sound scandalous. I've never seen Jeffrey Dean Morgan on screen as Negan. I stopped watching the show after I think season 5 was the last season I saw. It was just no disrespect to the show. It just felt like I was forcing myself to watch it because it just felt to me I was just watching because I was so involved with it. It felt like homework because I felt like and when you feel like you have to watch something as opposed to you want to watch something, it just takes the magic out of it. And and also it was the fact that I knew what's going to happen as well. So I've never seen Jeffrey as Negan. So
he did a great job. He did do an awesome job.
Yeah, I think it was a good choice. I think he was a bit wiry for Negan in terms of the vision. But whereas Denai looked like Michonne, he didn't exactly look like Negan, which was a bit of a shame because he had such a unique look.
Was there anything that you spoke about as a sideline or a separate sort of story in The Walking Dead that you didn't do that you really wish you had? Something, was there like and then they're going to get I don't know, a zombie elephant, or was there any one of these ideas that you thought that would have been so fun but we never did it?
Oh God, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I always preferred drawing. I mean, it sounds crazy because most comic artists sort of say the opposite. I preferred drawing the intimate talking head stuff over the big action type, multi-character stuff. Because I've always been an artist that really enjoys drawing the emotion in characters, and I always find it a challenge to create, sort of a 4 or 5 page sequence of people talking to each other and make it look interesting, sort of thing. I've always said if you want to become a really good artist, comic book artist, do people talking in a room. Don't do action sequences, because at the end of the day, they might take you longer to do action sequences just because of their complexity, but they're easier to do because they just feel that's why the medium's there for it, sort of thing. Whereas trying to make 2 people just 2 talking heads, that's real challenges to make it, kind of interesting. And I just love drawing facial expressions and things like that. So that's not really answering the question, I know, because it's kind of saying, I was going to say I wish there was more of that in The Walking Dead. There was plenty of it because Robert did do a lot of talking sequences. Yeah. So, I mean, there could have been interesting character interactions with other characters, I don't know. But to be honest, I think we covered all the bloody bases in 193 issues.
Yeah, wow. But seriously, also, well, just a quick question, because we've got quite a lot of other artist friends as well. So big shout out to Mark Sexton. Do you know Mark?
Mark who? Sorry?
Mark Sexton.
Oh, Sexton.
He's doing a load of he does storyboards. So he's just in the Thor film, and he's on the Mad Max one. So he has to knock out about 1 million different little storyboards at the moment. So one of the questions when we were chatting to him as well is when you get a script, because people don't realize, people see all, the comic and they read it and they take it all in, but you've got to think of the angles, how they're talking, the lighting. You're like a director in your own of the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's not just a story. You've got to get the shot right and the action and the how mad is that? Do you have that because you've been doing it for so long already in your head? So you in your brain you already sort of know what you're.
I'm honestly picturing it as I'm reading it.
Wow.
I've always been. I've always been a visual thinker. I just, that's my natural default. So I'm one of these guys, if the idea doesn't hit me straight away, or I haven't got some idea of what I'm going to do, I always know it's going to be a struggle. So I I've always been, the best idea is always the first idea, you know, because that's the one that's popped into your head straight away. So I'm lucky in that respect. So especially reading The Walking Dead. And again, I think it's also the fact that, as I said before, not overthinking it really helps as well, because if you're going with that attitude of like, it's just a comic sort of thing, that's when the magic will happen. Because if you do go in with that sort of, I'm going to do the best work I've ever done today attitude, it never will be, and you'll always be constantly frustrated. But it is, I do just see it in my head. I do think of it like a film, definitely, when I'm drawing it. You know, it's every every camera angle, like you say, every scene is a page, et cetera, et cetera. So you that's how you do it. And it's very rare that I'll get stuck. I mean, it's a real challenge, the book I'm doing for France. It's actually a book called Altamont. So it's about, it's not about Altamont, the famous disastrous Rolling Stones gig in 1969, where the
Hell's Angel or not, where
the fan gets stabbed by somebody else.
Have you ever thought about? Because I've always thought about this with awesome comic book artists like yourself. Have you ever thought about directing a film? Because you've already got this in your head. You already know how to, do the story, but you do that for a living. Have you ever thought about actually having to go at directing?
Well, I mean, a lot of comic book artists, I think, would probably. I know the only comic book artist I know who has directed a movie is Dave McKean. I'm not sure if anyone else has. I'm surprised no one else has. I might be wrong. Perhaps people have. I don't know. But for me, my ambitions stop at doing comics, because any other avenue I could possibly take, I feel like I'd have to compromise more. And why would I want to? Why is that an advancement in my career? If I be more compromising. The beauty of drawing comic books is the fact that you just literally, it's just you, a writer, potentially a colorist, and a letterer, an editor. That's it. It's this really small team, and it's your own world. You can create whatever you want with minimal interruption, which is just fantastic. You can create without having to compromise. That's brilliant. I think if you decided to be a director, you're instantly into the compromise situation. Even if it's the lowest of low budget films, you've still got to have some level. And of course, obviously, the higher up you get, the more compromise there is. That's why I've never been interested in doing storyboards or design or anything like that. I mean, I know it sounds a bit arrogant to say it, but it's just because I'm used to not working as a team, so to speak. So I wouldn't be used to somebody else coming along going, "Oh, yeah, that's good. Can you try this? Can you do this again? Can you do?" I've done it once. What do you mean? I love, and I get more done. That's totally doing it. I'm not working. If I was, I'm not working on a film for 6 months, and you've got, perhaps half a dozen scenes to show for it as an artist. In those 6 months, I've done a whole book or a whole mini-series or something like that, and I'm on to the next thing, and I can get all my creative juices out of that and go on to the next thing. And that's the exciting bit about comic books is, I'm almost jealous of writers, because writers can get more stuff done. The frustrating thing about an artist is you're limited by the time you're spending on pages. And as I keep going back to this book I'm doing now for France, Altamont, it's like I'm doing a lot of, I'm penciling, inking and colouring, and the only frustrating thing out of that is it's taking a long time to do each page. And I already want to get on to the next thing, because I want to get all this stuff done out there,
What do you think about the whole sort of, especially nowadays with the whole crowdfunding in comics? Because this is, especially like the Keanu Reeves comic and stuff like that, where they're actually crowdfunding, not selling it in shops, selling it directly to the customer, and then sort of going off and making a Netflix show? Or what are your views on that?
Oh man, it's great. I mean, it's great to be able to do that, definitely. And there's an amazing market for it. I'm constantly amazed how relatively easy it is to get people to cough up a few quid for something. Especially in comics, everyone seems to be quite into it.
Have you ever thought of have you got a, as well as doing all the art, have you got a story inside you where you think one day I've got this story, I'm going to draw it, I'm going to write it, I'm going to draw it, I'm going to color it,
No, I mean, I'm not a writer. I'd be the first to admit it. I haven't got well, that's the thing. There's been 2 books where I generated the initial kernel of the idea. One book was done pre-Walking Dead, which was called White Death, which I did with Robbie Morrison, and that was spawned out of my disappointment with how the X-Files, the comic book, ended, because I did not leave that book, shall we say, on friendly terms, and, because it was just everything about it was compromised, it was just working on licensed stuff was a nightmare. So I almost went the opposite way, and I wanted to do something creative. It was the first creator-owned book I did, and I went totally the opposite. I wanted to do sort of almost like an art project. So it was this World War I. What I said to Robbie was, I want to do a World War I story. I've got the opening 3 pages and the closing 3 pages, which is basically a zoom in on a corpse, and then through the snow, and then a zoom out of a dead person back into snow. So that's the bookend sort of visuals. And I said, I want to do it in charcoal and chalk on grey paper. So it has to be set in the snow. So we actually came up, Robbie, genius that he is, came up with a World War I story set on the Austrian-Hungary front up in the Trentino mountain ranges of Italy, where they literally launched cannons at the mountains to cause avalanches, which were referred to as the White Death. And that was our jumping off point for the story. So that was my kernel of an idea, which Robbie geniusly turned into a full story. And again, I'm going to repeat myself, but Altamont was what I'm doing now was my kernel of the story. I've always wanted to do a music-based comic book, and I don't know. I don't know why I suddenly started thinking of Altamont. I hadn't seen. I mean, I saw the documentary on it years and years ago, so it couldn't have been that as my inspiration. But all of a sudden, I thought that's a really good jumping-off point to do. So I initially started to talk to a British writer about it, saying, I've got this thing. I want to do a story set at Altamont, but not about Altamont. I want to do a story basically about the death of the 60s, the death of peace and love, and the rise of the right, and the rise of, So I wanted to make it quite political. I wanted to sort of make a statement about, at least that period of history ending and shall we say, a dodgier period of history taking over. But the premise was, I don't want to do the murder. I don't want to do, the gig, but it kind of has to be at Altamont because that's very significant. Anyway, cut a very long story short, it ended up going to this French writer and becoming a bande dessinée project. And the best thing about it was this French writer got the concept of it so well, and I was like, "This is brilliant! This is exactly how I see it." And again, he's run with the story and created this great 120-page one-off story about it. And that's as close as I've come to writing a comic. I've given a writer the smallest of sort of jumping off points. It's something I really want to do and I'm passionate about, and therefore carry on and take it to this nth level. And both Robbie and Fred. I know, not very French, but Fred.
Yeah.
They both got the idea, and it's both books have worked brilliantly.
So who's your favourite artists out there at the moment? Some of your compadres out there that you think, I like their stuff.
At the moment,
yeah,
I'd say the guy's really getting me excited. I've always been a big Chris Samney fan, for starters. Chris is like he's like our generation's Alex Toth. And Alex Toth is probably one of my all-time favourite comic book artists. Anyway, you know, the less is more approach is what I like to see in a lot of art. I really like Sean Murphy. I think he's really
Sean Murphy. Yeah.
I mean, I love Tommy Lee Edwards, and sadly John Paul Leon as well, who obviously left us, passed away recently, which was incredibly sad.
Definitely.
But Tommy and John Paul are sort of a very similar. I mean, I love that sort of artwork. I love that sort of almost illustrative narrative artwork. Ironic, well, that poster.
I've seen that earlier. That looks stunning.
That's Bob Peak. It's the original. It's
oh my god!
I love stuff like that.
It's a prelim to Rollerball.
Charlie, you have the best collectibles. I love Rollerball. I am a massive Battlestar Galactica fan. All your stuff in the background, I would love in my collection. I think it is amazing. You have awesome taste. That's all I can say.
Thank you. But I'm a massive fan of that sort of style of that's sort of when it was the 60s and 70s, when they were sort of they were getting away from realism, and they were going for that sort of more realism, but with a real eye to design and abstraction as well. So it was a lovely combination. And I think, say, people like Tommy and Jean Paul really have that in them as well as artists. And I pour over their stuff. I think their stuff is fantastic. So, I mean, so there's a French artist I love called Baru, which is B-A-R. I've got one of his originals actually in the studio. I can't really turn the that far around. I've literally just got, apart from the two, I've got that Bob Peak. You can't see it unfortunately because it's the other side of the studio. But I've got well, should we say the other poster to Apocalypse Now by Bob Peak.
Oh, wow.
Frank Darabont has the main one. I've got the secondary one which he drew.
Wow. Oh man, that is something.
Amazing.
One of the greatest films of all time. Yeah.
And one of the greatest posters of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
I was debating what to put in the studio because I am a big original art collector, and I was thinking because I haven't got much wall space here because I've got all these bloody collectibles and a lot of so I was thinking, what else can I put in? So what I thought I'd do, I'll put in an original piece by the first artist I ever got into when I was a kid that I recognised and like, oh yeah, I like his stuff. I must buy more stuff by that artist. So I've got one of his originals, which is Michael Golden.
Wow.
So I've got a pencil that's over there, so you can't see it. It's like a pencil drawing from an X-Men cover. But I remember reading the Micronauts from Star Wars Weekly way back.
That was awesome.
Yeah, and he was the first artist. I remember just thinking, God, this is really good.
That was brilliant. Micronauts by Marvel when they first came out. Awesome.
Yeah, but Golden was so different then. He really stood out as an artist away from that sort of more traditional Marvel sort of, late 70s, 80s look. So it really struck a chord with me. And the other bit of original artwork I've got is Baru because I thought he's my, I suppose, go-to guy for bande dessinée. So I've got my sort of, that was my decision in the end. It was like I've got my first love of American comic books and my French comic books, sort of side by side. on either side. So that was my decision to have those two out of many friends, colleagues, people I admire, pages that I own. So,
wow. So a quick question about, because you've got a lot of collectibles and got some amazing collectibles. What is your favorite thing that you do collect? I see a lot of Star Wars. I see Battlestar Galactica. What is your which ones do you sort after?
Well, it's the combination is Lego and Star Wars.
Yeah.
So, most of those behind the apartment. I mean, I do have the Walking Dead section. So I've got 4 big sculptures that McFarlane. I mean,
wow.
Those were free, so that was all right because they were obviously based on my art. So
yeah,
I've got those. That's one section. But basically everything else, as you can see. So that all this is Lego, you see.
Oh wow!
So that's the Super Star Destroyer that Lego did. It's quite a while back. It's probably 10 years old or something now. And then
wow.
Is that Lego?
Yeah, that's all Lego.
Yeah. And
That is stunning.
That's my favourite sequence probably of all time in any movie, which is the Hoth.
Yeah.
Battle in the Empire Strikes.
I find it hot. Yeah.
My Hoth Lego all laid out there.
Oh my gosh!
I'll lift the computer. I mean, the Battlestar Galactica's Lego, obviously.
That
as well.
is stunning.
And then all those up there are Lego as well.
They're
But
Lego as well.
That's wow.
Yeah, well, they're what they call the UCS Ultimate Collectors Series. So they,
Oh my god!
do a lot of stuff. And to the other side. That's at the top. The Sandcrawler, that's Lego. War Rocket Ajax, that's Flash Gordon. That's not Lego. That's a model kit. Then there's the Shuttle, which is Lego. They've got the Batmobile from the Tim Burton 86. That's that one. And then down below, obviously, there's the Asterix Battle. And then to the left, that's 66 Batman, the Lego Batcave, all out of Lego, with loads and loads of Lego
Brilliant.
Batman. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I've also got downstairs.
Oh God.
Downstairs, I've also got the Millennium Falcon, which Lego is the second biggest Lego kit ever made.
Yeah.
So that's encased in a coffee table.
Oh my god!
How cool is that?
Oh, yeah.
Did you build that yourself, or
those are kits? Those are all kits. The only two things that have been built that aren't kits, and they were built for me, are the Battlestar Galactica and the Lego Mechagodzilla downstairs.
Mechagodzilla as well. Also, I really enjoyed the last Godzilla film, by the way. What did you think?
What, the Kong?
I quite liked it.
It was. I love it when it first started, because I'm a massive Godzilla fan, because I got loads of other vinyl Godzillas, and actually Mechagodzilla is my favourite Toho monster. And I really love the Gareth Edwards Godzilla movie. I thought the genius of that film was to keep the battles off camera until the end. You're just so desperate to see the monster by the end. The anticipation is just there, and he gives you just enough that you're not getting too pissed off.
Just inside,
But I kind of enjoyed that. I enjoyed King of the Monsters just because it had King Ghidorah and it had Mothra and it had Rodan in, and it was like, they're not many monster suits, they're monsters, But then you want the many monster suits because there's something quite endearing about that,
definitely.
But I just thought, I really. The opening scene with Kong when he's just sort of scratching his ass on Monster in his dome and everything.
He's just having a good day.
Yeah.
having a rumination.
We've all done it.
More of that. Do you know what I mean? That had a real charm.
Everyday Kong.
a real humour to it. And I thought the battle, when they first encounter on the boats, was really well done. But as soon as they introduced the going through the earth, and the problem is when Kong goes through the earth, it's all CGI then. He's a CGI world, and he suddenly looks really small then. Yeah, the whole point of this is size, isn't it? Size.
Yeah.
Nothing to compare him to all of a sudden, because everything's his size then. So he just looks like a CGI ape walking around. and Mechagodzilla, I knew he was going to be in it, but he wasn't as good as proper Mechagodzilla.
Well, what's with the magic axe? The magic axe that saved everything.
I didn't mind the magic axe. I mean,
I would like to have one.
Is it the golden axe?
At the end of the day, it's got to be absurd. It's bloody massive monsters.
Yeah.
The thing that sat with me slightly uncomfortably, though, is the fact they're fighting in a city that, when you think about it, they're destroying skyscrapers, and no one mentions the fact that they're literally killing
millions
of people.
That happened for years during Power Rangers, and no one mentioned it.
No, that's true.
It's been happening for literally years with the same monsters, actually, recycled.
You got a point there.
At least in the original, when I say original, the Godzilla movie from the Gareth Edwards one. At least they have the decency to say we have evacuated San Francisco.
Yeah.
That's very good. So when they ask into buildings, you're going, well, at least they're empty.
I was always assuming they're evacuated. Can we go back to War Rocket Ajax for just 1 second? I did a little soundbite and I realised I was on mute.
Oh, okay.
Go on then.
Dive.
There you go.
Charlie, he's a keyboard player. That's all I can say, sir. That's all I can say.
Just when I was Brian Blessed.
Gordon's alive.
Gordon's alive.
He's alive. So Charlie, as well as being our favourite artist in the whole world, you are also an amazing drummer. Are you in a band? And are you doing stuff?
I am in a band. I'm in a band called Cosmic Rays. We've been around for quite a few years now. We were originally formed quite a few years back now, probably 12 years ago, something like that, to play a comic convention in Birmingham. And it was myself and Phil Winslade on guitar, Liam Sharp on vocals, and Paul Birch on bass.
Yeah.
At the time, we thought we'd call ourselves Giant Size Band Thing. To all those comic fans out there, you know what I'm talking about. But to comics fans, there was this comic back in the 70s called Giant Size Man Thing. So, hey, that's the pun. But originally, we were just formed to play covers at this one convention, like the opening party, and we went down really well. And Phil and I sort of turned to each other and went, we could be onto something here. I mean, I've been in bands, obviously, before that, but I had a sort of
no, Charlie, in September, there's a festival happening not far from Shrewsbury. Just saying.
You can always come as a guest this year and play another one when you're.
I think that might be better because we obviously because of but the band we decided to carry on and do originals, which I've always wanted to do, and I've always done prior to that, So eventually Liam and Paul left. Me and Phil carried on with two. Well, funny enough, the guy that ran the comic convention ended up being our lead singer, Shane Chepsey, who you know.
Which we know very well, yeah.
So he's our singer still. Phil stayed for a while as our guitarist and eventually left. No animosity or anything. He just decided. We became a more Shrewsbury, as band members left, we became a more Shrewsbury-centric band, basically, because every time somebody who didn't live in Shrewsbury left, I recruited somebody from Shrewsbury, so we didn't have to.
Awesome.
local.
You're not from Shrewsbury. Get out.
You get.
So is that a comic draw thing then? Because I remember we played a gig in Wales, and there was Simon Beasley. There were like 4 of them doing a band, didn't they? They were playing before us.
Yeah, what were they called?
Well, obviously, is in a band, but I don't think he's got other comics people in the band. I'm not sure.
No, they did a special one for that Comic Con.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't remember what they were called. Warp Spasm.
Oh God! Yeah.
Oh
How
God!
did we forget that?
Oh God!
How can you?
Just after Pat Sharp.
I think what it was, Charlie, is because Beasley, he plays bass. And he's pretty good, and he's got his own band, which are a lot better than this Warp Spasm. It was some 2000 AD artist. I don't think they'd got a song, and they just decided to do a 90-minute jazz funk fusion thing.
Oh dear!
And literally, and we were on after these, so we were headlining the night, and they were on just before us. So they took an arena of about 1,500 people. And whittled it down to about 3. So we had to
draw all the people back in.
This was after Pat Sharp.
It was,
Pat Sharp DJ
it was
set.
an interesting. I think if they'd have had a song, so literally it was like, what should we do for like an hour? you know when you're sort of warming up before at a rehearsal, and everybody just goes mad.
Nothing.
It was like that for about an hour. It was.
Oh Jesus. Well, there's nothing worse. The worst,
and then try to a headline.
The worst sort of band are the bands that are having more fun on stage than the audience, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a really good example where we're having a great time. What do you mean you're bored? What?
Yeah. Where's everybody gone? Do you get nervous playing drums? Because you're used to sort of more in your studio drawing. How do you feel when you're suddenly then playing a festival or you've got to go on stage and you've got a big crowd out there? Do you get nervous?
It's not very often we get a big crowd for starters. So that's. I get more nervous playing the drums than I do if I'm signing in front of 100 people or going on to talk about comic books in front of 1,000 people. Definitely. I think it's because I'm confident. I'm more confident in my ability to draw and my ability to talk about comic books as opposed to my ability to drum. It's as simple as that. I'm not as confident in my playing, but that's probably why I ended up choosing comic books as well. Another reason I chose drawing over playing the drums, because I knew deep down inside I'm a better artist than I am a drummer. So so I do. I think I just get this horrible sort of feeling of ballsing it up. I think
we get that every night, before we go on stage. Yeah. Everybody gets it, but that's that excitement. You need to have that.
Also, the drummer is key. I know a lot of people. There's a lot of drummer jokes out there, but if you've got a drummer and they've been a bit excited, they either go too fast or too slow, or they get drunk and fall off the seat,
or they throw their sticks at you,
get off the kit and go around and do some weird stuff. So fair due to drummers, you've got a really, you're the engine room of the band. Really,
we've got to stick it. We've got to keep it together. Yeah, exactly. And that's quite a lot of pressure when you think about it. You are arguably the loudest as well, so you're the most obvious. It is. Yeah. So, but unfortunately, just before lockdown number 1 happened, our guitarist and our bass player decided to leave. Again, no animosity, just life was getting in the way, especially for our guitarist. Yeah. So we got another couple of members, some really nice guys. We literally rehearsed twice, and then lockdown happened. So, but we did a lot of recording as opposed to how a lot of us did online, which is great actually, because I got really used to using GarageBand recording the drums, which I'd never really got used to before. So I got sort of technically, I wouldn't say accomplished, but at least technically able to do something like that, because I have an electric kit as well, so it's easy enough to do that sort of thing. Yeah, and we did a lot of recording in the first lockdown. We sort of lost the momentum a bit, the second and third lockdowns, unfortunately. So, but I have a music room in this house as well.
Yay!
So hopefully very soon the band will reconvene and we will start playing and writing again.
Have you got sort of an idea that one day you're going to release like an album? Are you going to?
Well, is
that something on there?
Yeah, I mean that's sort of the whole point why we've got this the band room, because I've got a little room to the side which will basically be a recording studio of sorts. I've just bought a new Mac with Pro Tools on it, so not Pro Tools, with Logic on it.
Yeah.
So I'm able to use that hopefully be able to use that software. But I mean, we've recorded 2 albums as Cosmic Rays. The one with Phil,
right. Yeah,
and then one with this guy Rob McFall, who was our guitarist after Phil, who was in the band for a considerable amount of years. And it's kind of interesting because Phil was very much your more sort of 70s rocker, big Richie Blackmore fan. Bit of a progger as well. So
what is the style? What you doing?
Well, that was definitely the style of the first album. The second album, because is a lot more eclectic. We certainly got one foot still in the rock, but I wanted to try and introduce a bit more of electronica into it.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And Kev, who unfortunately has left as well, our bass player at the time was more into that as well. So there's quite a lot of there's a lot more interesting sounds on the second one. I'm still really proud of the second album. It's very eclectic, but literally we did one song has got Rob is a bit he doesn't look it. That's the bizarre thing. He doesn't look like a metalhead. He's a real metalhead, and he's an amazing guitarist. So there's a couple of songs on it which are obviously very, very rocky because of Rob. But there's also another song which sounds like some sort of Motown song. We even got a horn section in to play.
Oh wow!
Wow!
That Rob had done, and I remember saying to Rob, "This would work so well as a horn section," And he was fine. He gave it up. He was like, that was what was really good about Rob. He was very much into playing exactly what was. He's a genius guitarist, but he was really good about playing exactly what was needed as well.
Yeah.
He was more than happy. He saw that as a thing that would be brilliant. So we got these guys in to do this horn section sort of.
Oh my gosh!
Then the engineer just cut and paste through the rest of the song, but. So that's as eclectic as it gets.
So what kind of music do you listen to?
I mean, at the tender age of I'll be 55 next month.
I would have said 21.
Yes.
I still really enjoy new music. I'm not one of those people that can constantly listen back to sort of stuff and just constantly recycle that people of my age just seem to get stuck into, that kind of just like, I only like music from 1980 to 1995 or something like that. I got to admit, I kind of go in and out of periods of getting more into music and then less into music. I'm never not into music, but I think the pandemic, I've listened to more podcasts than anything else.
Yeah.
Probably because it's been harder to buy it, just because I quite enjoy the physical act of going into my local vinyl shop and buying vinyl. And I actually enjoy I enjoy the traditional way of buying it. Like you almost hear one track and then take a punt on that record. And there's that excitement of putting it on and not really knowing whether you're going to like it or not, when that's how you were sort of 30 years ago or whatever. So I still like that. But
and that was the good old trick with the old vinyl days, where you'd put your best track on the first one, and then you just have album fillers for the rest of the album.
Exactly.
And like people would get home, they go, It's bloody
Fancy
rubbish. It's
remixes.
crap. Yeah, it's like, what the hell's this?
Yeah.
That one good track, number one, always had to be, didn't it?
Oh, totally. Yeah. So it's the first time I've actually got a record player in my studio, so I probably will listen to a lot more music now. I think I know it sounds crazy, but it's accessibility sometimes. If your record plays in another room, or the way to play your whatever you've got, CDs or digital or whatever, or stream or whatever, if it's a bit of a pain to put it on, you quite often just don't bother. Yeah, especially if you're working. But if I can literally just go, get your phone and just go click. You listen to more. It's as simple as that's probably why podcasts were so easy, because you got your computer, you got your podcast app, you just put on your podcast and off you go.
So what podcasts are you listening to at the moment? I do like the old Joe Rogan and Lex.
Right. I listen to mainly. I listen to a couple of comedy ones. I do enjoy the. I'm not a foodie, but I do enjoy the James Pastor and I've forgotten his name. Oh God, hang on, I'm gonna have to look it up now. Hang on. I'm just looking at my list. Well, actually, yeah. I listen to the Richard Herring podcast.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
awesome.
I really enjoy that. There's a really, really good pop culture one called The Weekly Planet. I listen to two Australian guys.
That's still going. Bloody, I've not listened to that for years.
Yeah, you heard that?
Write that one down. Yeah.
I really love that. I think they're just such. I think what I like about podcasts is you develop a kind of a relationship, don't you?
Yeah.
With the hosts, and you get to know the hosts really well. So I just really like those two guys that do it. The news isn't particularly exclusive. The news isn't particularly, like straight off recent or anything like that. But I just enjoy listening to him. And I really like the Adam Buxton podcast.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So, and the other really good one. And the other good one.
Well, and
a comedy one called The Rule of Three.
Yes. Yeah, I've listened to a couple of those. Yeah.
It's just they gave up. I don't know whether they've just given up. Somebody told me that they because they were really successful. They're winning awards.
Yeah.
But the last one was like March last year or something like that, and which is a real shame because I really, really enjoyed that. And the two guys that do it, they're comedy writers, aren't they? And they do. I can't remember what they wrote for now. Oh, they did Philomena Kunk and things like that. They did a lot of stuff. And who I love. So, it's a real shame if they don't start that up again. But somebody told me that they because they were so successful with the podcast, they actually spent a lot of money that the podcast are generating on buying a proper studio and everything to do the podcast in. And then the pandemic hit, so they couldn't get anyone in the studio. And I don't know if it fell apart.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh my God.
So,
awesome. So I think we are, well, first of all, I just want to say on our festival, the tickets are going so well, guys, that if you do want to come, I would get your ticket more sooner than later because it looks like we may sell out this year. So that's awesome news. So very, very exciting. Cool. Amazing.
And that's not a saying, it's a fact.
That's not a fict, that's a fact. So Charlie, let's just go around. So what we're going to do is in the show, before we do the fact or fict, we're just going to quickly do what's hot this week. So it's our recommendation to the audience of stuff we like, just sort of one thing each. If that makes any sense. Are you ready for a slightly better jingle than the last one?
Yeah.
Stig's only very precious about it because he's actually created these. So. That's a bit better than the last one. Yeah, excellent. So, Mechanized, what is hot this week?
Well, my chair was.
Okay.
Oh,
Jesus, it has
Okay.
been hot. We had like mid-30s. I had sticky problems.
Thought you'd had a chow crazy.
Gee, a little bit smoking for me, I tell you. It was very hot. But yeah, we're waiting for the rain now. That was hot for me this week.
That's
Yeah,
hot.
rubber, literally.
So, Skelly, what's been hot for you this week, sir?
Well, it's kind of an amalgamation of the past couple of weeks. The film Freaky, I went to see that at the cinema. Very good. Black Widow, also very good. And in comic world, I've started reading The Sixth Gun again. Very good, very good. Western stuff.
All right.
The Sixth Gun.
Sixth Gun.
Yeah.
Charlie,
It's about supernatural guns.
Charlie,
Western world.
sir, what is hot for you this week? What would you recommend to people out there? Can be anything. Film, TV, comic.
Something slightly older and something relatively new. I've just started, finally, got around to watching Chernobyl.
Oh.
I've only seen the first 2 episodes, so I've got 3.
Okay.
But boy, bloody
Scary.
Yes.
Is this?
Yeah. I do really like. I mean, I watched. I do like Jared Harris. I mean, I watched The Terror when that first came out, and that which was also incredible, actually. But he was really good in that. So it's very good. And I'm really, really enjoying the Nice House by the Lake comic book, which is DC Black Label.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's something DC don't do very often, which is nothing to do with superheroes. It's
Oh God.
the premise is the artwork's lovely. Actually, it's very illustrative, but it's about a bunch of friends that are collected by this other guy to go to this beautiful sort of modern house by the lake. And right at the end of the first episode, right at the end of the first issue of the comic, basically the world ends. But there's this house by the lake, and why? So it's a really interesting premise.
Wow.
Really, it's definitely making me think, what is going on here? Yeah.
Wow. And that's DC.
DC, believe it or not, DC.
Oh, and it's wow.
Where's the Black Label sort of thing?
Black Label, yeah.
Not the Black Label stuff. It's generally heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heroes getting their block and tackle out for all to see. There you go.
Mechanized, were you going to say anything?
Yeah, but I watched this week was this documentary about the mass killer in America.
Oh, Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy, yes. Oh my God, what a guy! Jesus, I don't know if anybody knows.
A very naughty man.
Yeah,
Very,
not in a
well,
positive way, yeah.
But so intelligent as well. How he tried to cover his tracks and everything. It's like,
He
my
defended
God.
himself in court as well.
Yeah, crazy.
Complete
Crazy man.
For me, this is super cheesy, but I watched Guns Akimbo.
Oh yeah.
What a film!
Advertised. Is it good?
It is bonkers. It
looks
is
bonkers,
literally bonkers. And if you see the advert, the whole film is that paced, and it's just out there. It's awesome. So they've got Harry Potter, with guns stapled to his hands. It's just lunacy.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe, sorry. Yeah,
He's not actually Harry Potter. He's a Harry Potter character.
Okay. That's just ruined it for me now. But
Sorry.
oh my, seriously, it is an awesome film. It is just bonkers, and it's that pace all the way through the film. Crazy. So that's my plus for this week. We've got the what's not hot. So we've done the hot. Are you ready for a slightly not so good a jingle? Let me. Are you ready, Charlie? So you don't get this on the BBC, do you?
You have to hold on. Oh, sorry, boy. I think I squeezed the nose of the war boy.
Oh dear. So
come out.
So Stig, you can start. What's not hot this week, sir?
Me not getting a chance to do what's hot. No, never mind.
I forgot about.
Oh,
Doesn't matter. I only got one.
Cool it down like a forge master.
and a boo.
I'd only got the one, which was Blade Runner Black Lotus anime. They've dropped the first trailer for it, and it looks quite good. It doesn't look as gritty as I'd hoped, but it's a possibility. What's not that knobhead? John Barrowman slagging off M. Night Shyamalan's Old, and then linking him straight from the Twitter slag off he gave him. The guy's an idiot. Flasher Barrowman.
Did he just go see the film and not like it?
Yeah,
I think it's not a Twitter thing anyway, so everybody gets flagged on Twitter. Isn't that what Twitter's for?
Well, it's just him.
I think Twitter.
I bet Sita is not twittering about us.
I'd hope so. Well, apparently we reckon Sita's given us a thumbs down.
So Skelly, Skelly, over to you, sir.
I had something, but then forgot it. I'm just going to go with the weather because it's made me not sleep properly this week. So it's been a little bit too hot.
It has been a warm one. Charlie, is there anything out there that you've watched or seen and you thought could have done better?
I'm really racking my brains. I'm normally got something instantly to go at. I'm trying to think. Help! Can't be something I watched recently, which I thought was brutally average.
There is a lot. There is a lot of brutally average stuff.
Oh, actually, yes. This might be really controversial, actually, because it's been getting universal good reviews everywhere. I really didn't particularly enjoy the Underground Railroad.
I
just felt it was just so heavy all the way through. Like 10 episodes of just pure.
Right.
Quite a heavy subject matter, though.
It is a heavy subject matter, but for 10 hours. We thought, this is good because I enjoyed Moonlight. I didn't see Barry Jenkins' If Beale Street Could Talk. I never saw that. I mean, he's a fantastic filmmaker. Some of the visuals are amazing, and the way he uses the camera is really interesting. But oh boy, and there were bits you're just thinking, oh god, this is going on for a bit long, So slightly self-indulgent, I feel, and a bit too much. I'm sorry, perhaps that's what we need with something like that. I don't know, but being bludgeoned around the head with it for that long.
For hours and hours and hours.
10%.
Definitely. Mechanized. What's not been great this week?
Oh, so much.
your hot seat.
My hot seat. Yeah, it's cooler now, though. So it's not that hot now.
Not that hot.
I don't have anything this week. I didn't watch anything. I didn't watch anything. I think
Brenton's got a good one there, actually. This could use drone.
Don't spoil it because that's next for me. Don't spoil it.
Right.
Okay, hold on. We've got a super chat. So,
no spoilers.
Brenton, who is also a awesome comic book writer. The final episode of Loki. Did you watch Loki, by the way, Charlie?
I've watched them all because my youngest son is a massive. Well, I would watch it anyway, but it's even better to have a child, 16-year-old, who is totally into everything Marvel and Star Wars. So yes,
good taste.
Beautifully every Wednesday, and I sort of tend to agree. I just thought that final episode was. I was just thinking, how much longer are they going to be talking for?
Exactly. I felt the same as well, because also I thought Richard E. Grant stole the whole season.
He was brilliant.
I want to see a show of him as classic Loki and Alligator Loki. I want to just watch those two. Awesome.
No, he was great. He was perfectly cast, and I wish it would have been more quirky like that, as opposed to. Yeah. I mean, I was so looking for. I knew my son was going. You do realise it's going to be Kang the Conqueror, and I was like, I hope so. I hope it's going to be Kang the Conqueror. And I'm thinking, oh God, are they really going to do him with the purple face and the thigh-high purple boots and all this? Sort of stuff? And when I know it's meant to be Immortus, which is another version of Kang. Yeah. But when he does turn up in sort of sensible slacks and a bit of a cloak, you do just go, "Oh, is that it? Oh, okay, right."
Definitely. Yeah. I thought it was a bit of a letdown because I was expecting, because I was hoping it was going to be Kang, but I was hoping for like the real evil one. Finish on like oh my God, he's super badass. We're in trouble.
Yeah. You know? It's almost like they didn't want to go far enough.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't, I don't know. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it as a whole, and I love Tom Hiddleston. I love
awesome.
So many points to it, but at the same time, you see, the thing is, like the Time Variance Authority, I'm just thinking, you've got to explain why they use all the sort of the outdated equipment that they use.
Yeah.
It looks great visually, but you can't just do it.
Just drop it in there, yeah.
People don't not explain why that is how it is, you know. It sounds, it's great visually, and it's kind of quirky and all this sort of stuff. But you still want to go, but why?
Yeah, definitely. I felt the same a bit with WandaVision, because I was so hoping at the end that the main bad guy, you know, I don't want to spoil it for people out there, but I was expecting it to be somebody really uber bad, and when it wasn't, I was like, it just spoils it a little bit. It only had to be like a 5 seconds of this person, and I would have been super happy.
That's the problem with being a comics fan. Especially with Marvel, you're constantly wanting the big reveal, the big surprise, and they've done it so many times before. It's like, well, funny enough, talking about what you're saying about mentioning M. Night I can't even pronounce it
as well.
And because every film up to a certain point was had to have the big twist. You get really disappointed when there isn't a big twist, because it's like, oh, well, I was expecting the big twist. And it's the same with Marvel. You just want the big reveal, and then you get a big reveal. You want a bigger reveal on top of the big reveal, and it just carries on like that. And it's a problem that they've got themselves into, and you always want that big moment at the end credit sequence.
That's it at the end.
Definitely.
It's not a big like that. You can't. I'm really disappointed. So
it is. Also, Brenton said that was thinking the same thing. So I think the TVA, they'd obviously watched Fallout or played the Fallout game and thought this would look ace.
Right. Yeah.
Sort of, they've got an aesthetic in there. I'm waiting. I am a massive Galactus fan, so I can't. Let's bring Galactus. Let's have the Planet Eater in there. Come on.
He was in the second Fantastic Four film.
Yeah.
He was there for the second.
Big old boring cloud.
Yeah, a purple cloud, an angry cloud.
You saw him. That's enough for you.
You just see his profile very briefly, don't you?
Yeah.
That's the best. Don't show the monster. That's what you said earlier. Don't show the monster.
So, Charlie, which of your Marvel characters, or which of your favorite Marvel characters, not in the MCU yet, are you looking forward for coming in?
Oh Christ! Oh, Doctor Doom. By a million miles. Let's.
Well, he's already been in it.
A decent Fantastic Four movie with a decent.
That's never going to happen.
European Doctor Doom. I don't want a bloody American playing him. I want an Eastern European Doctor Doom.
You want a Latverian playing him, an actual Latverian.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I must admit, I'm very excited about the Moon Knight TV show, because I love Moon Knight.
It's good casting, actually.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. I hope they do that justice. Yeah. It's still all interesting stuff. I mean, on a whole, it's all working. That's I can sort of pick apart all three of the TV shows, but I'd say as a whole that they have been more successful than not. It's good. It's good. It's still all sort of grist to the mill, shall we say?
I must admit, I'm looking forward to the next one, the What Ifs, because that used to be a really good comic.
Yeah, well,
awesome.
And because it's going to be animation, it's. I feel like could go a bit crazy with it all, can't they? And it's not. At the end of the day, it's not part of the universe.
The canon.
Yeah, canon. Yeah, so they can do whatever they want, which will make it more fun, definitely.
Awesome. I think we are nearly finishing, guys. So let's just finish off with the fact or fict. So, Mechanized, what was your fact or fict?
Did I or did I not get Stig nearly arrested in America?
Okay, so
well, not nearly. Did I get him arrested?
So, Charlie, you now know us. We've been, you know us deeply for hours. Hours. So, what do you think? Fact or fict?
I think that's fact.
There's quite a lot of people think it is. Skelly, what do you reckon?
What was it? Nearly or actually arrested? As you changed your story just then.
No.
You said nearly.
No, but that was wrong. At the beginning of it. No, definitely.
Actually arrested.
Yeah.
Fict.
Did he? He was moved off and arrested by policemen.
Stig, you can't answer this because you're probably going to know. And I think I'm going with Charlie. I think it's a fact. We've got loads of people online saying it's a fact. Stig, what are the audience voting on?
Well, they think it's a fact as well. I mean, I was probably pissed, so I couldn't even vote for it.
You probably couldn't remember. So, Mechanized, fact or fict?
Fact.
Actually arrested.
Well, you were there.
Okay. Story, please.
Kelly. We came back home from LA from our little tour from California. And then I encouraged Stig to take some sand back from the beach, from Malibu Beach for his kids. Yeah. And he carried it in hand luggage. And then we didn't see Mark for an hour after we checked in. They took him away.
Pulled me over at customs, yeah.
Yeah, and then they arrested him and took him aside. Yes,
that's not an arrest.
It is an
arrest.
That's
a search. That's not an arrest.
I think
it was an arrest. If someone is walked off by police, it's arrest. In Germany, it is.
That's true. Yeah.
That's technicality.
They had to search for it, and of course, we know sand can get absolutely everywhere.
Everywhere.
That's a crap technicality. That's not an arrest.
Stig, did they actually ask you why the hell you had a tub of sand in your suitcase?
Yes, they did. They were quite forceful about it.
Did you do the Pirates of the Caribbean things? You go, I've got a jar of dirt.
Crazy.
Yeah, they did actually say it was Captain Jack Sparrow's fault, and I thought, what the heck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So Charlie, I think we've learned a valuable lesson that if your bandmates say, "Oh, by the way, you're in LAX and you're
don't trust us."
So Charlie, what was your fact or fixer?
Did I? Well, I can't remember exactly what I said, but did I bludgeon somebody with a crowbar?
With a crowbar, yeah.
Well, Mechanized, what do you think? You've known Charlie now for hours.
He's writing flipping zombie shows. So I think please say you did, because you take a crowbar and you kill zombies. So yes, please. It must be in your head. You must have done it. Please.
Okay. Well, over to me next. I think it's true. Let me zoom in and I'll tell you why. Because you seem to be going through a lot of musicians in your band and they disappear. So I'm not trying to insinuate anything, but there seems to be a lot of people in Shrewsbury in bands disappearing. Okay, Stig, what do you reckon?
Well, did you say this was at school?
At school.
Oh.
Right. Well, I can sort of believe it, but I'd be intrigued to find out how you got your hands on a crowbar unless you went into school tooled up or jammed it into your sandwich box or something.
Did you not go to school tooled up? How did you survive?
How did you say exactly?
Razor blades like everybody else.
Oh, okay.
But Michael Gravy Davis said that did actually think that had you actually got the crowbar incident into any of the illustrations for Walking Dead. Anyway, I think it's a fact.
Skelly, what do you reckon?
Wishful thinking.
You're from Manchester.
Yeah, I went to school, and that's just kind of standard kit, for surviving in the toilets. It's just a thing, part of your kit. Someone tries to lock you in the toilets, just
knock them on, yeah.
Toilets.
Simple fact to life.
So, Stig, what did the audience think of our illustrious guest? World renowned Charlie.
They were slightly split, but they did end up thinking it was a fact. They obviously think he looks like a dodgy character.
But he's writing.
Yeah, Charlie.
Yeah.
Charlie said, fact or fit?
It is. It feels like, would I lie to you? This it is.
Oh.
In fact, I went to public school. It was at prep school. This was, and we were very lucky to have a thing called the Woods, which was part of by the football pitch. And in the summer, we were allowed to play in the woods.
Were there trees?
And because of this was the early mid 70s or whatever, the health and safety wasn't really an issue back then, and you could build dens in the woods. So there's all this rusty crowbar metal going around in the woods from previous dens. So we'd all sort of go into groups and build our dens out of all this rusty metal and blah 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 blah, and bits of tree and wood and rope and etc. etc. It was always day boys versus boarders as well. The boarders always had a line of stinging nettles in front of their den, so you would have to be forced, if a boarder captured you, have to be forced march through the stinging nettles to their den, and then tortured. This is
wearing shoes.
Yeah. Anyway, but one day we were all just having a laugh, just throwing bits of metal into the undergrowth. Now, I'm a very good artist. I can draw, I can drum. I cannot do anything else to save my
throw.
I am not academic. I am woefully uncoordinated. And my uncoordination really played into this story, because as I threw my crowbar into the undergrowth, it clanged on the head of my best friend. He fell over. I ran literally to where he'd fallen over. He sort of stood up again, doing that on his head.
Oh no!
Remember, just this blood just run down. Lay down. And next thing off, he was all taken out into the sort of school buildings. An ambulance was called. He had stitches in his head.
Was it that point you thought, I'm going to become world famous for drawing zombie comics?
This is how you kill zombies. Just throw metal in this bush.
Yeah. So I was in tears. I was only 9 or 10 or something like that. I was in tears with them telling me. I remember my mum and dad, or my mum coming to pick me up or whatever after school, and this kid in my same year running out and telling my mum what had happened, but completely exaggerated it, etc. etc. So I turned up. My mum was like, "What?" Yeah. So.
I do have a question. You said he was your best friend. Is he still your best friend after the incident, or did he leave the band?
He remained my best friend at school. Yeah. We've lost touch since, unfortunately, but we went to 2 different schools after that one anyway. So yeah.
Amazing. So, Skelly, what was your fact or fixer?
I once met John Louis at a party, and he wasn't in the kitchen.
Oh, Charlie, what do you think, sir?
I think that's fiction because he was in the kitchen.
Mechanized. You know, Skelly. What do you think?
I think it's fict.
You think it's a fict? Stig, what do you think, sir? Let's zoom in on him. Let's see if we can get any hints.
Poker face.
Well, knowing his enjoyment.
Watch your fingers. Watch your fingers. I just say.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. He quite likes a bit of a horseplay and stuff. So without stopping the cavalry, I think it's probably a fact.
Can I stop the cavalry?
I reckon you probably have. I reckon you probably have met him because you are a bit of a stalker, and I know that.
I get invited to parties, unlike some people.
Oh, okay. So you bloody keyboarders, Charlie. Bloody keyboarders. So Stig, what does the audience think?
The audience were unanimous in their belief that he has met Jonah Louis outside the kitchen at parties.
Skelly, fact or fict?
He was in the front room looking at the CDs.
Thief.
Oh,
Feely.
Oh, where was that then?
Attrition.
Yeah, I didn't ask him if he could
doubt.
stop could ask him 2 questions. Shall I ask him if he can stop the cavalry, or shall I ask him if he's been in attrition? I asked if he was in attrition.
Oh, okay,
And was he? Yeah.
Yes, everyone has, except for who failed his audition. Failed his audition.
Stig, what was your fact or fict, sir? This is quite a good one for you because normally it's you have more dangerous ones, don't you?
No, this was actually seriously rock and roll. Yeah, I managed to lose. Did I manage to lose my mother's car keys in the middle of a cricket pitch? For a foreigner's, a cricket pitch is a bit like baseball, only it takes far longer to play.
Charlie, you're a man of wisdom. What do you think?
Well, it's so kind of, no offense, so
Shit.
unremarkable.
Dull, boring. Yeah.
It's got to be facts. Unless this is some sort of double bluff.
Mechanized. What do you think?
Well,
Let's
knowing
zoom in on that face.
Dick, and is he accident prone?
Yes. Yes.
Has he lost stuff before? Oh man, Tick. Not going into details here, but yeah, it's definitely a tick. So I definitely think as kid you did that as well. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a fact.
It's a fact.
Mechanized. Skelly.
I'm going to go with a fit because it's too simple. Too simple an accident. Not convoluted enough.
I personally think, let's just quickly zoom in. Let's have a look at that baby face. Yes, I can imagine your parents being deeply disappointed as you've lost the house keys on an entire cricket pitch.
And they had to search for the last 3 days.
I can believe that. I can believe that. Stig, what does the audience think?
The audience agree with my deeply disappointed parents, and they'll be deeply disappointed for many decades now.
They know you. That's it.
Yeah, the audience thought that. The audience thought I was totally untrustworthy and would lose keys anywhere, apparently, and they'd be right. It was in fact the same car which we buried in a garage. Floor.
Yeah,
that was another one, Charlie. He had the "Has he ever buried a car underneath the garage?" And it was true. Honestly,
it wasn't because we lost the keys to the car. There was another reason for that.
Elaborate way of
we could only afford one pair of keys, so it was either bury the car or that was it.
Was it the neighbor, by the way? I never asked you. Was it your neighbor?
No, what?
Sitting in a car before you? No, but I thought
no.
I've got okay. My
Friendly
fact or
with
fict was I have drank cider backstage with Trent Reznor from 9 Inch Nails. So Charlie, what do you think, sir?
Oh, it's an interesting one, this, because I can't believe Trent Reznor drinks cider. So I'd say fiction.
Ooh. Mechanized.
Well, knowing that he crushes all party backstage. And
I do actually. What do you reckon?
I think it's Trent Reznor. I think
cider.
Fact. Well, no, the cider bit. Yeah, I think I have to agree with Charlie there. Will he drink cider? I bet he wouldn't. Nah. But I know that you go into.
Come on.
It's a fict. Fict.
Okay.
That one is a hard one.
That's a hard one. Skelly.
It's hard to concentrate because I'm hearing weird things coming from the void behind me. kind of a chanting.
You're not sucked in a minute, are you?
Well, I'm popping in there later because it sounds like it's a party. The whole question is what's the definition of drinking cider with someone? Because if I had a discussion about fly fishing with someone in the presence of John or Louis while he's looking at through the CDs. Have I discussed fly fishing with John or Louis? Now we know he drinks cider. And
he does, because he is from the West Country.
So perhaps Trent Reznor doesn't. Perhaps Trent Reznor is just having a sandwich, thinking, "Who the hell's stolen the rest of the rider?" and then someone's sloping in. They're feeling bad about their recent audition for a darkwave band based in Coventry. They're chugging a toffee apple cider, trying to drown their sorrows. There's Trent Reznor, by some kind of technicality, I've drank cider with Trent Reznor. So I'm going to say that's a technical fact, but it's very technical. Yeah, you have to leaf through the rule book for a few minutes.
So it's a fact then, yeah.
Technical facts, very technical.
Stig, what do you reckon?
I err towards Skelly's belief here. I also think that due to the fact that you probably actually drank the entire rider, there was nothing left but cider. Therefore, Trent comes back parched, and all he can do is drink cider with this Irish Bristol-based pirate. So I think, yes, you did drink cider with 9 Inch Nails, because there was F all else left to drink. Because you necked it.
What does the audience think?
The audience agree with me entirely.
Oh dear.
Well, they didn't say it as such, but they do think it's a fact.
It is a fact.
Oh,
so we were
technical fact.
It was a fact, because Trent asked me
very technical.
Trent asked me, why is English beer warm and it tastes bloody awful? So I coached him into try a cider. He was not impressed, but he had a go. He did give cider a go. And couldn't quite work out why us Brits like our warm pints of beer.
A German still doesn't understand that bit either.
It's a crazy one. So just before we go, Charlie, is there anything you'd like to say to your adoring fans? So first of all, thank you so much for coming on, sir. It has been an absolute pleasure. It's been awesome to talk to you and get to ask you loads of questions about your amazing career. So is there anybody you'd like to shout out to or say to your adoring fans? Because as I said, this will be shared all over the internet.
Well, oh God. Oh no, I've had a ball. I've really enjoyed tonight. It's been brilliant. Thank you guys, and thank you everyone for watching. And just please keep buying my comics, even though I don't draw zombies anymore. I do other stuff. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the fans, and I hope to see a lot of you guys at comic conventions as soon as we are allowed out again to do them. So see you in the funny books.
Awesome. So also, Charlie, if you can keep us updated, just ping me wherever you are, or if you're going to any conventions, and we'll share it to everybody out there. We've got about 10,000, 20,000 odd in the cult V2A, our little fan club. So we're all massive Charlie fans. I can't wait to actually meet you face to face, and we've got to get your band on playing with us. I can't wait, sir.
We will do that soon, definitely.
Soon. I really do love your band. Your band is actually really, really good.
Cheers, thank you.
It is really good.
Thank you.
So I'm actually really impressed. I think you're really good musicians and really good songs. Mechanized.
Yeah, first of all, Charlie, thank you so much for coming on. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you in the show. I was really, really excited to get you on. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. And thank you so much for everybody watching us tonight. And yeah, I had a good chit chat with everybody. So really good. And yeah, stay safe.
Skelly.
I've had kind of a revelation this afternoon because I was stuck in one of the longest bar queues ever, and it was very slow moving. So no one likes queuing. So next time you're stuck in a queue, just pretend it's a really shit conga. like and follow for more life hacks.
Wow, that's words of wisdom there from a keyboard player. Stig.
Can I just say, don't try that in your local oldie. You'll probably get arrested.
You got to sing the song in the local oldie and do the legs.
I'd rather not.
Anything?
Oh, Joe, just say hello to my 6-year-old grandson who I'm looking after for 2 weeks. He's knackering me. Bloody kids.
Oh.
Jesus Christ, I've forgotten what they were like. Up past 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Anyway. Thanks for joining, folks. For joining all the chat and stuff. Thanks to Brenton for the super chat. See you at the next show.
Awesome. Yeah, brilliant. And from me, thank you very much for everybody. Charlie, thank you. It is a pure pleasure, guys, to have Charlie on the show. Charlie, you are a legend, a super nice guy, and also awesome to talk to and really great fun. So thank you so much. If you hold on after the show, there's just one thing. I've got a Lego story I've just got to tell you, but I can't tell people online, which is really cool. And we will see you all next week, guys, and we will finish. So what it was, Charlie,
we are not on next week.
Aren't we?
No, we're not. Oh, we're not on. We're in 2 weeks' time. So what it was, Charlie, we are, as you know, you are from the awesome Shrewsbury. Is it Shrewsbury or
Shrewsbury?
Depends. They always say depends what side of the river you were born on. Shrow is the old English pronunciation, and just my mum and dad called it Shrewsbury, so it's just
Shrewsbury. Awesome.
Shrewsbury.
I say that. So most people say Shrewsbury because it's more sensibly obvious, but hey, yeah. Either way.
Awesome. So here is so every year we go out and we headline a massive Mad Max festival over in LA in the Mojave Desert. A couple of years ago, it was their 10-year anniversary, and for fun, being a band from Worcester, all the way, which is about 30 miles away from you. We took snow cannons to the Mojave Desert. We were the first band to ever take giant snow cannons to there. So we will finish with a little clip of that. So thank you, everybody. I hope you've all had a great show, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time. Thank you. And Charlie, we love you. Thanks, everybody.
Love you all.
Bye.
To fight. Ready to deploy. Mechanical animal. Activate. Destroy.